For sure. So this is Madison Case, everyone. Some of you might recognize her if you've been in PRSSA in the past, but she was our president the fall of 2018, spring of 2019 year. So she's very, familiar with the organization. And so she's just going to talk to us a little bit about today about how, the things that she learned and did in PRSSA have helped her as she, looked for a job and then in the workforce as well. So welcome, Madison. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, like Savannah said, I was president of PRSSA last year, and I had joined the previous year, so I had 2 years under my belt. Wish I would have found it earlier, but because it's so awesome. And I guess I'll start off from when I graduated last May, almost a year ago, which is crazy. I moved to the St. Louis area, and I, felt the pressures of society. As you graduate, I'm sure you guys are experiencing the same thing. Like, there's so much pressure to get a job. So I just was like, you know what, whatever job comes my way, I'm going to take it no matter what it is, which is, don't do that. I took a sales job that I absolutely hated and only worked there for a month and was like, I can't do this to myself. I can't do this anymore. So I quit that. Kind of just was searching for jobs for a while, probably about another month and a half. And then I was like, you know what, why don't I look into internships? So I did that, and I ended up getting an internship in Chicago. So I moved in with my grandparents, and I became an event planner in Chicago for a startup company. And I did that, and I knew the internship was going to be up in a matter of months. So I was like, I need to start looking for something else if they don't offer me a full-time job, which I knew I didn't want to do my internship full-time. So my friend, Matt, who also went to SIU, he was in the aviation program. And he was like, I work for this company. It's really cool. You should look into it. And I was like, ew, gross, aviation. No, I don't know anything about it. It would have nothing to do with my PR degree, even though we know a communications PR degree, you can take so many avenues with it. So I ended up applying, and I got the job. I am now a defense contract specialist, and I work with the government. I work with the United States Air Defense, so the Air Force, the Marines, Army. Basically, I help create contracts with suppliers and the government. I'm kind of like the middleman, and so I'm constantly talking to mostly the government every day, trying to keep them pleased as a client, having meetings with them, making sure everything runs smoothly. Biggest thing from PRSSA is kind of client relations, because the government is our top client, and they're sometimes very hard to deal with. So just learning, applying different communication skills that I learned in PRSSA, working with different clients, was super huge. I'm also the youngest person in my company, so I work with a lot of people who are not used to my communication style. So I've learned a lot between different styles of communication. They've kind of taught me some things. I've taught them some things. So yeah.
I really like how you kind of laid out how when you first started, you were like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Because I'm definitely in that same place. And I think a lot of us are who are about to graduate. So do you have any specific tips? I know it was kind of a learn as you go process, it sounds like for you, but in retrospect, do you have any tips to give some of us, going through that process?
Yeah, so I think LinkedIn is huge, utilizing it to reach out to people. There's someone once gave me a tip that said, when you're researching at a company that you really want to work for, an agency you really want to work for, and there's someone within that company on the LinkedIn profile that has the job that you want, maybe shoot them a message and be like, hey, I'm super interested in this position. I'm going to be graduating soon. I'm a recent graduate. Just give me a rundown of some things that like you do on your day-to-day basis and kind of establish a relationship. And then also, I on like job posting websites, I would only like look at like the first 3 pages. But like the way I found my internship was like on the 6th page of a job posting website. So like I would like just give up after the 3rd page and be like, oh, these are all, I'm not interested in these. But that's how I ended up finding my internship. So, and then just like keeping an open mind to different jobs. Like I had never heard of the job that I was in now, and it definitely 100% deals with communications and public relations, everything, marketing. So just like keeping an open mind to positions that maybe you didn't think that were a possibility that you would be interested in.
How would you like describe the kind of company culture that you work in right now? I know you said you're like the youngest person, which is kind of interesting. I think, in my head, have been in PRSSA, we toured Weber Shandwick and all of that. That was on our plate for this semester. We were going to do that. But unfortunately it fell through because of all this COVID stuff. But I was really excited to kind of show everybody that kind of feel of the agency setting. But it's interesting to hear a perspective that's not from an agency setting. I think that's kind of pushed on a lot of PR people. So do you have any observations or thoughts about working in a setting that's not necessarily PR oriented?
Yeah. So it's interesting. A lot of people at my company are ex-military. So, or they have something to do with aviation, like aviation management, or they were like, my boss is an ex-fighter or fighter pilot. So like, it's like, very, very different. But there's actually one person on my team who, she has a degree in journalism. So like, when I went through my interview, they were like, it was 2.5 hours long. So it was really intense. Yeah. And they were just like grilling me. They're like, you don't have any experience in aviation or military or blah, blah, blah. Like, why do you think you're good, like a good fit? And I just highlighted my communication skills and I loved it. So I just, like, it's been different because I work with so many people who are like, you have a communications degree, like you don't know anything about the government or the military. And I'm like, I know, but I like have to, like, one of the most important like aspects to have when working with them, because you can know everything about how an airplane works or whatever, but if you can't talk to the government, then you're out of luck.
Hi, Madison. My name's Justin. I'm the new advisor for PRSSA. So I think one of the things that you mentioned that was really interesting to me was talking about taking an internship after you graduate, because there wasn't a job waiting, there for you. And I think oftentimes students are scared to do that because they feel, I should be taking a real job now and getting on with my life and everything. Did that help benefit you, like because you didn't have a big break in between school and work, that you had done something, you had taken the one job for a month and then took the internship? So it sounds like you kept busy and kept like doing things between graduation and this job.
Yeah, so when I first kind of came across it, I was like, oh my gosh, I have a college degree that I worked 4 years for. Like, it'd be so embarrassing to have an internship. Like, I should have an actual job. But in my mind frame was like, if I wasn't going to take an internship, then I was going to take a part-time job, because like I needed to do something to, make money and have experience. And I think that was almost impressive for my current employer when I was interviewing, that they were like, wow, like you kind of like swallowed your pride and took an internship like as a college graduate. Like that just shows us how like dedicated you are to like, advancing your career.
Do we have any other questions?
I will say, I think it's really interesting how the direction that your career took is like the aviation and the military and the government. That is really interesting to me. It's never something that I'm sure you never imagined for yourself, and it's not something I picture for myself too. But I think a big thing that I'm hearing from you is just you got to kind of go with the flow, go where it takes you. Like, and then I don't think it's like look on the bright side of things as well. Like, even if it's not what you thought, you know, you're learning so much, and you were making these connections along the way, and so I really appreciate that insight from you.
Yeah. Post grad life's really tough. Like, I'm just gonna put it out there. Like, it can be really hard to watch. Like, because I'm gonna say it again. Like, our degree, you can go down so many different avenues, and it's not like clear and dry cut. Like, my sister's a nurse, my brother's an architect. Like, those are very clear cut, dry careers to go into with a simple degree, and that was something that would like frustrate me and like people like my family, because they were like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know, I like, you know, different aspects of things. And I guess my thing is like maybe try not to focus on like one specific thing that you wanted. Like, I really wanted event planning, and I was like, maybe I should look into other aspects that I liked. So like maybe doing some research on different jobs and different kind of industries that you're interested in, or different areas of communication that you're interested in, and not being so like narrow with your job search. That like really helped me.
Madison, you've mentioned client relations being really important to your job now. Are there other skills that you picked up at SIU, or classes that you took that you found particularly helpful in your job now?
I would say like the classroom's a classroom, and you learn a lot. Like, you do learn a lot in the classroom, but I think PRSSA helped a lot because that was like real experience, like working with like real issues that arise, and like, or different situations that kind of come about, and working with like the client on how to, you know, whatever, like work on their needs. And I would say like event planning, like that helped. That was a big aspect that got me my internship, was that like we had done Operation Sergeant Santa. So that was like a big highlight and a big learning experience. And just like, there's different, like I had a couple hobbies in college that kind of helped me with my job search, which I think would be like a good thing to focus on. Like, I am super into photography and videography. I don't have a degree in it, but I had experience in it. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna see if I can apply that to look for jobs, and then use my degree as kind of like an elevation to try and get a job. But I would say definitely client relations helped a lot, dealing with clients.
I was going to ask you about how, if your photography and videography has played a role in your, you know, job search and stuff like that. And also, I know you were involved in like Ad Lab and all these other organizations. And so how would you say, you know, being involved, and then particularly in leadership positions, because I know that you held, you know, a lot in PRSSA and in other places as well. So how would you say that's kind of benefited you, like, you know, kind of set you apart, or has it at all, or how has that benefited you?
Yeah, so that was like another thing that they brought up in my interview, was like, because I originally started out at SIU as a RTD major. I wanted to be a news anchor. So I was did that for about 2 years until I switched into PR. And then I worked for the athletic department as a photographer in their marketing department as well, and did some like game day operation stuff and marketing stuff for them. And then I did Ad Lab, which was really awesome. And then PRSSA, I was kind of all over the place, and they were like, you know, you kept busy in college, like why would you do that to yourself? And I was like, you're supposed to have fun in college. That's what they said. And I was like, I knew like getting into all the stuff that I did, that it would only benefit me in the end, or, you know, pique interest for myself into different career paths that maybe I wasn't thinking of going into. And it just kind of showed them that like I'm well-rounded, and I can balance a lot of things at once. So I'm not saying like throw yourself into every club you can, but it's definitely like definitely a highlighting point for hiring managers, for sure.
Madison, I think one of the coolest things that you've said is just that you've been very open to unplanned experiences. So, like both the clubs and activities that you did, like doing sports photography and, in college, and then doing the internship and taking the marketing job, even though it wasn't exactly what you wanted, the sales job. And then even ending up here working in aviation, which you said was not your exact plan.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the things that sometimes when people are looking for jobs first out of college, they don't realize is they have to be really open to
Mhm.
that dream job that they always had their mind on as a little kid may not be waiting there right away for them, and they may have to like take a more roundabout way to get there.
Mhm.
So I think that's been really interesting hearing you talk about your experiences of how you've ended up where you are now.
Yeah, yeah. And as much as I would like love to start my own business like full time, like I'm really into wedding videography right now, and I really wanted to like kind of do that on my own or find a way to get a full time position with those kind of skill sets that I have. But I've kind of built my own personal brand enough to still be able to balance my full time job with like these little side gigs, which has been like really important to me. So I think it's important to not just like kind of throw away your hopes and dreams and still like find a way to kind of balance it with your professional life, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's really important, being able to like realize that the job you do 8 hours a day may not be that dream job yet, but you can still work towards it on the side.
Exactly.
And that sounds exactly like what you're doing. I know Craig Ingstrom from our
Mhm.
department, and that's one of his favorite things is what's going to be your side gig, and like start thinking about that right now. And it sounds like you're very much doing that.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to link up with me on LinkedIn. Um, as much as I wish as I could give you all jobs right now, I know it's tough right now, but just know that just don't give up. Please don't give up, and don't take that sales job because you feel the pressure to have a job. Just when you accept a job, be confident that you want that job and you want to work there, because if there's any kind of doubt, you're just going to be miserable. So really think about the job you're accepting. So.
Well, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Madison while we're here? If not, that's okay too. Like she said, you reach out to her on LinkedIn, Madison Case. Madison was really awesome to know in college. She was really awesome as a president. And I know that Denise would be so proud. So,
Yeah.
Almost a fire president, I can confirm.
right.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Madison. If everybody else is done asking questions, then I think we're done for the day.